What is up, guys? Thank you so much for being here. So today I want to talk about 10 drone moves that will legitimately make your shots look more cinematic and more creative. So as you just saw in that intro, there's tons of different things that you can do to really spice up your drone shots, but I'm gonna just show you 10 unique ones, and some of them are pretty simple to do and some of them are more complicated. So with that being said, I just wanna mention as like a reminder, when you're doing it, be careful and like pay attention to what you're doing, because I've done this myself. It's real easy to just focus on the remote, trying to do all the different movements and looking at your screen, and then you end up crashing into something or causing some kind of problem. Also, just remember to always follow your local laws. You don't want to get fined. And then, yeah, you don't want to crash this thing because they're not cheap. Even to repair, it's not cheap, but replacing is obviously really expensive. So just be careful. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So shot number one is pretty simple. You're literally just going to send the drone straight up with the camera pointing straight down. And so, because typically your camera points forward in the direction that it flies, but like a DJI, I don't know what kind of drone you have, but this DJI, the remote has a little wheel kind of like on the back. And if you turn that wheel, it'll make the angle of the camera change. And so you just point it straight down and send your drone straight up, and you can have like a subject underneath, so you or your car or whatever. And that just makes it look cool. And then you can add some movement forward or backward or side to side, or even to make it more dynamic, just to kind of be creative, you can have it spinning as you're flying upwards. Obviously you can spin it at the speed that you want. I tend to do it kind of subtle because, you know, you don't want to make the person dizzy, or I don't know, it just might look kind of stupid. But I mean, you do you. But I kind of make it subtle. So as it's flying way up, it's slowly spinning. So shot number two is very simple as well, but it's just cool to see as a viewer, because what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take your drone and go as low as you comfortably can. So you don't wanna be like 6 inches or a foot off the ground. But if you're going like, you know, maybe a couple feet over the ground, or a pond or a lake or something like that would really look cool too. And just fly straight. I mean, honestly, you can fly in any direction, but if you're just flying straight ahead and you're pretty close to the ground or the water, it just adds so much more movement to the shot. Because obviously, when you're in the sky with your drone, it's moving and that is interesting, but the more movement, the more unique and interesting it is to watch. And even though you may not be moving any faster, the fact that you're lower to the ground just allows the viewer to see that movement better. And then if you want to make it a little bit more interesting, if your drone has like a sport mode, then that makes it go even faster. But just be careful, because honestly, it's pretty hectic if you're in sport mode, because at least this drone, it's super responsive and fast. So you gotta stop way ahead of like the tree or before you crash into something, because it takes a second to stop. But yeah, just put it into sport mode and then just book it, and you're just flying right above the water or the ground or whatever. And then obviously that shows more movement, and so it can be a little bit more interesting. But any kind of low ground shot like that is gonna be fun. So shot number three is a little bit more complicated, and it can take some practice to get good at, but it's an orbiting shot. And some drones have like a auto orbit or something like that, but you just basically tell it to orbit, and then it can identify you and track you, and then it just kind of orbits around you. Sometimes it won't be perfectly accurate, and then sometimes it's just a little risky, because if there's trees around, you know, you kind of want to have full control so you don't crash into something. And one example would be if I'm standing like on the shoreline of a pond in the forest or something, and there's a whole bunch of trees behind me, but a whole bunch of open area in front of me, then I want to have full control, because I don't want it to orbit a full 360 and end up hitting all the trees that are behind me, but I might want it to do like a orbit in a 180. So with that being said, the way that you would do this drone move is one of your joysticks is gonna make your drone just fly like sideways. And so you would want it to go, depending on which way, either right or left. But then on your other joystick, the drone will just rotate. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the joystick that makes it go right or left and just have it slightly go. And then with the other one, you're gonna slightly make it go the opposite direction. Say this is the subject. Instead of it just going past it or just rotating, it's now gonna like orbit around it because you're making it go right, but you're making the camera and the whole thing rotate to the left. Now shot number 4 is to just fly over stuff, because regardless of how many different shots you get, if everything is just from way up high and far away, then after a while that may get a little repetitive. And so it's just kind of cool to mix it up and to fly over things. So whether it's over a tree or over like a ridge, and so just think of different things that are around you, and if you can fly over them, obviously be safe like I mentioned. Just getting different shots like that can make it more interesting, because you might have the same location, but you might get one shot flying over the ridge and then one shot from up above showing everything. Shot number 5 is pretty similar to number 4, but you want to fly through things if you get the opportunity, or like next to things. And I don't mean going through somebody's house or whatever, because obviously that's absurd, but you want to like fly through a structure or like next to a structure, or trees, for example. If you got a couple trees, you can fly through them. It just adds more movement, and it allows the person to really see that thing zipping by you. And so whether you're going, at a decent pace, or you're in sport mode and you're flying by it, it's just cool to see that zhoof and that movement or the thing going right by. So don't forget to go through trees or next to trees or any kind of structure that can really allow them to see that movement. So shot number 6 is a good shot to use as like your first shot or even your last shot, but it's like what I would consider a reveal shot, because you're gonna start out where the drone is behind a bunch of trees in the mountains or something, or behind a building, and then you're just gonna send it straight up, but you have the camera looking in the direction of this majestic scene or this really cool scene, or something that just shows you a lot more. So then that way when you just send it straight up, and when it gets up and out of those trees or from behind that building, it then reveals that cool scene to everybody watching. And it's just another way to show people, this cool scene that you're trying to show them without just cutting to a shot of that scene, because you kind of reveal it to them by coming up and out of something or up and out from behind something. And you can add movement if you want, but honestly, you don't even have to. It's a really cool, simple scene just to go straight up out from behind the thing and show them that scene. Now shot number 7 is one of my favorite shots on this list, and this is like a reveal type shot. And all you're gonna do is fly the drone straight ahead towards the subject or scene that you want to reveal. And obviously if you're revealing like a person or something smaller, closer to the ground, then it looks better if you're flying closer to the ground. If it's some big mountain range in the distance, then I guess it doesn't really matter as much if you're way up in the sky. So it just depends on what you're revealing. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna fly straight ahead towards that thing, but with the camera pointed downward, and just slowly raise the camera until it's pointed at that thing. And it just looks really cool. It's honestly, like I said, one of my favorite shots, and it's just another creative and cool way to reveal a scene or subject. I think one of the things that makes it so cool is the fact that you're getting that movement by flying over something and being pointed downward. And then it kind of creates more movement because you're moving forward as the camera is going up towards the scene. And so you get all that extra movement that's in the shot. And then as you're moving, you reveal the shot. And it's just kind of cool because it allows them to, for a split second or two, to not know what's coming. And then obviously they get to see it, and it's this cool, majestic scene or whatever. Shot number 8 is probably the most complicated one on this list. So it can be kind of a struggle to get it right. You can do it in all kinds of different ways to make it look like different things. Basically, it's just kind of cool because it looks like you're flying, like you're doing a dive bomb right to that thing, pushing the joystick forward and the other joystick so that it goes down. So you're coming down at an angle, and for the viewer, it's just more unique than going straight or only down, because it's like you're going at it. It's like you're dive bombing at the thing. And then you could do things with the camera where you start low and go up, or vice versa. There's so many things you can do. That's why I said this shot's a little bit complicated. You can also do it in reverse, up and away from the thing, and you start with the camera down and then move up. I don't know, it's kind of like majestic to see it take off backwards and up and away. The backwards one can actually be a little bit easier because you're starting off at your subject and you're going up and away from it, versus starting off way in the sky and trying to go towards and down at your subject at the right speed so that you don't end up going, you know, anyways, it gets kind of complicated. So practice, this one will probably take the most practice to really get it good. And then there's just different things you can do with it, like I said, with the different camera movement and all that. So do what you can, don't be too risky, but it's a very cool shot. Okay guys, we're getting close because we're on shot number 9. And for this one's easy, but again, it has movement, and movement always makes shots a little bit more dynamic and cool looking. So all we're gonna do is have like the drone following alongside a moving subject. So it could be somebody running, or it could be like your car driving. Obviously you're not gonna be in the car driving and flying the drone, but somebody could be driving your car and then you're just kind of following alongside it with the camera pointed at it. It could be somebody on a bike, whatever, you know, it just depends on what you're trying to film. And the whole point of all these different moves that I'm telling you is to make your shots look more like cinematic and creative. And this one just, it's simple, but it just makes a difference to have this thing following alongside a moving subject. All right guys, so we made it to shot number 10, and I'm not quite sure if I have any like B-roll to show you guys an example of how this shot actually looks. But trust me, it actually looks a lot more unique and cool than it sounds. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna fly straight up, and this is a good shot to use if you're wanting to show off your campsite or something like that, like a small area in front of you. And you're just gonna fly straight up with the camera pointed towards the thing that you wanna show. And you're gonna start with the camera pointed forward. You don't need to do any side to side movement or anything. You're just gonna go straight up, and as you go up, you're gonna angle the camera down so that it stays locked on the campsite or whatever the entire time. And it just looks cool because the camera is getting higher, or the drone is getting higher and higher, but your camera is staying locked on your little area the entire time. So this is a shot that I plan on doing more in the future now that I know about it and I saw how cool it looked. But with that being said, I hope you guys really enjoyed this list. You know, it took some time to put this video together, so if you got anything out of it, definitely hit the like button. It helps out my channel a lot. And on my channel, I make a lot of photography related videos, so like lens reviews, drone stuff, just all kinds of stuff. I've done camera bag reviews, so if you like that kind of stuff, definitely subscribe. And thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.